Hello everybody, welcome to yet another season preview and prediction video. This time we are going to go ahead and cover the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now last year the Nittany Lions had their best year in quite a while. They finally broke through that 10-2 mold, going 11-1 in the regular season with their lone loss being to Ohio State. However, because Ohio State had two Big Ten losses, that meant Penn State advanced to the Big Ten title game. They then lost to Oregon in the Big Ten title game. Then they won in the first round of the playoffs against SMU. Then they won in the second round of the playoffs against Boise State before losing in the semifinals to Notre Dame, who would then, and then Notre Dame, of course, went on to lose to Ohio State in the Natty. Now, the big key for Penn State is Drew Allar, however you pronounce his name. There was a lot of good moments, but in the game against Notre Dame, Allar did not look well. In fact, when Allar played great, or at least good, Penn State did well. But in games where Allar played terrible, the team played terrible. Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame. If Penn State is going to have a good season again this year, Allar is going to have to play number one, very consistent, and number two, great. Now, James Franklin once again returns. He's been there over a decade at this point. They do bring in Ohio State's defensive coordinator, so that's going to throw in an interesting wrinkle in the Ohio State-Penn State rivalry as long as he's there, because he coached first at Ohio State. Now he's leaving Ohio State, going to Penn State. Now, let's take a look at Penn State's schedule this year. Penn State is going to open up at home on August 30th. This is going to be a CBS game. Remember, Big Ten now has at least one game on CBS every week now that CBS's contract with the SEC is up. First game is going to be August 30th against Nevada. That should be an easy win for you. Nevada, an okay Group of 5 team, but not ready to take on an elite Power 5 program yet. Then you play FIU the following week. You should be able to win. This is going to be Big Ten Network. And then on FS1 the following week, you play Villanova. You should win. And that's your non-con schedule. So you play a very easy non-con. Nevada, FIU, and Villanova, who's an FCS school. You don't play a Power 5 non-con this year. So you should be able to easily go 3-0 in the non-con and 3-0 on the season. That is actually going to take you to your first bye week. Then on September 27th, you have what I think is your second toughest game of the year. You are at home against Oregon. Now, Oregon has the same thing a lot of Big Ten teams struggled with this year in terms of this game, is that they have to travel over multiple time zones to get to the game. And then you add on the fact that they're losing their star quarterback Dylan Gabriel to the draft. I still think Oregon's going to be good, but I don't exactly even have them in the playoff this year. And I think Penn State wins this game solely on the back of Oregon has to travel over multiple time zones to get to the game. Then after that, now you have to travel over multiple time zones, but luckily you're playing a team that might end up being the weakest Big Ten team this year, UCLA. Sad situation with UCLA. They never recovered from suddenly losing Chip Kelly. They're still trying to dig themselves out the hole. A rude awakening to the Big Ten last year. Not really a lot to write home about in terms of recruiting or transfers this year. I think Penn State, even with the fact they have to travel over multiple time zones to get to the game, I think they win. Then you're back home. You play Northwestern Wildcats. I think you win that one. At Iowa might be a little bit difficult. Iowa's been known for fielding good defenses, but if your offense can get past that defense, you should have an easy time here, because Iowa, not really a good offensive school. They've mostly relied on defense for a while to win games. I think you win this one, And that actually takes you to your second bye week of the season. So I actually think going into your second bye week that you're one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 7-0 going into your second bye week. Unfortunately, when you come out of your second bye week, you have the toughest game of the year. Because when you come out of your second bye week, you're going to be on November 1st. You play on the road against Ohio State. Now, Ohio State did lose a chunk of their team, but they're still going to be very competitive. Ryan Day, he recruits very well. They make good use of the transfer portal in Ohio State. I'm assuming Julian Sayin is going to be the quarterback for Ohio State this year. He was a star recruit coming out of high school. This game is in the Horseshoe. And last year I actually picked Penn State to win this game because the game was in Happy Valley. But Penn State lost this one. Now they have to go to the Horseshoe to play this game. And I think Ohio State wins this game right here, giving what I think will be Penn State's first loss of the year. So kind of similar to last year, where Penn State goes undefeated up until the Ohio State game, and then they play Ohio State and lose. Good thing is, you're coming out of that game going home to play Indiana. I think you should win that game rather easily. On the road at Michigan State, I think you win that one easily. Then after that one, you have Senior Day. You're going to be playing home against Nebraska. You should win that one. And then at Rutgers to finish off the season, I think you win. So for Penn State, I think you go 11-1 with your lone loss being to Ohio State. Is that going to be enough to get Penn State into the playoffs? I think that will be. I think there's 3 Big Ten teams that make the playoffs this year: Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. Is that going to be enough to make the Big Ten title game? I do not think it will be. Simply because I think there's going to be 3 teams sharing a 8-1 record in the Big Ten this year: Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. Now, you may have seen my Michigan and Ohio State preview videos, and I have them going each 10-2, but each of them have one loss outside the conference. I have Ohio State losing to Texas and Michigan losing to Oklahoma, so they would only have one loss in the regular season. Ohio State would get in. Michigan would get in over Ohio State because they would have the advantage because I picked Michigan to beat Ohio State. Ohio State would then have the advantage over Penn State because they beat Penn State. So that would mean we'd have a rematch of Ohio State versus Michigan for the Big Ten title game, if that happens. But I do think Penn State makes the playoffs for the second year in a row. Pretty good season, although I think Penn State would rather beat Ohio State than anybody else. But anyway, that's your Penn State preview and prediction video. Look out on the NFL version of this channel, the Go Pats 99 channel. I plan to get the Kansas City Chiefs preview prediction video out. I will do one more season preview and prediction video. It's going to be next weekend. I'm going to cover the national runner-ups from last year, Notre Dame. That'll be the last week before week 0, and then the following week, the week after next weekend, which is week 0 week, I will drop a who I think wins every Power 4 conference video, and then I'll drop a preseason prediction of who I think is going to make the playoffs. Until then, I'll see you later.